The perfect Tesla storm. Donald Trump has been good for Tesla and Elon Musk, and not just in this term, but also in his first term. I want to explain why, because it might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but the point is what I think is going to happen in the foreseeable future is a perfect storm for Tesla in a positive way, which is that we're going to have less imports from China in the battery supply chain and the EV supply chain. And a lot of that imported stuff is actually being produced by Tesla here in the US. Two items in particular. One is the refined lithium, and the other is actually the battery cell, the 4680 battery cell. And those two components will drive up the margins for Tesla, will drive up volumes for Tesla. At the same time, when supply from outside of the US will be restricted, we could have a almost COVID-style crunch of supply and demand. Maybe not as bad. We hope it's not going to be as bad, but we could basically see a lot more demand for Tesla cars because competitive cars are either more expensive or not even available. And therefore, there could be actually, as Mark Twain said, the history rhymes, it doesn't repeat. The same way when Trump, was in the first office, we had this COVID disaster, which then drove enormous amounts of, volumes and demands for Tesla. We could have the same thing. Again, this is the Not Even Wrong podcast. It's April 12, 2025. This is Krim Telco. For the year, we are down 39%. The market is down 7.5%. We're underperforming by 31.5%. So this episode is about supply chain, and we want to focus on refined lithium and batteries. Let's start with lithium. So Tesla has built a factory in Texas, where they process and refine lithium. So what that means in a nutshell is that you take rocks that contain lithium and you extract lithium from those rocks, and then you also process it so it can be used for batteries. This is a process that Tesla has invested in a while ago, and I think it's definitely something that is number one, under the radar, and number two, maybe even considered a negative in the sense that why are they bothering with this? Now, why exactly Elon Musk decided to do this is, in my opinion, an open question. My guess is what happened is after COVID, there was a supply chain crunch, and particularly there was it was obvious how much we depend on Chinese supply for refined lithium. The Chinese own that market because the main goal of refined lithium is to do it in a cost-effective way. So you take the rock and you squeeze the lithium out of the rock. Now you can do this in two ways. One, you can use chemicals, and the other, you can use energy. The acid-free, the second one, is what Tesla is opting for. They even patented the process. So without going too much into detail, the way they squeeze out the lithium from the rock is by applying enormous amounts of pressure, and then I assume when you apply enormous amounts of pressure and some sort of osmosis type technology where you filter different elements through a filter, you can somehow extract the lithium. So let's leave it at that. I don't want to go too much into details of material science here. But again, the point being that Tesla has found a way to do this in an environmentally sustainable way. Why is that important? Well, the main reason lithium is available mainly out of China is not because China is the only place where lithium is available, but because they didn't care about the environment. They built massive lithium processing plants, and they had two advantages. One is they get subsidized energy, and the other is they don't have to deal with the environment. Those are two things that we don't have in most of the world, maybe not all. Lithium refineries exist in places like Argentina, in Australia, where probably in the outback also environmental concerns are not as important. But here in the US, we had lots of lithium in Nevada and California, and probably also in other deserts. But we have environmental constraints that make it very difficult for us to extract lithium at competitive prices. So Tesla has invested in lithium refining, and we believe that that is in order not to be dependent on China, which of course now with the political discussion, the trade war that's happening with China, has a huge positive effect on potential future Tesla business, because we could have tariffs on Chinese imports and Tesla being very cost competitive here at home. So that's the first one. The second one is the 4680. Again, something that has been discussed for years now, at least 5 years. Drew de Ballino was the big, he drew the big show on Battery Day when he explained all of those details about 4680 and about how Tesla is going to make the next leap in battery technology. And most importantly, that leap was made to be have several vectors going forward. One is it had to be, of course, low cost. Second, high cycle time. Third, it has to be low cost to invest capital. And fourth, it has to be independent of Chinese supply. That wasn't particularly discussed on Battery Day, but that, of course, now with the lithium also being supplied from Texas is going to happen. So we could see potentially a massive increase in 4680 volumes, which, according to Tesla, are actually ready for shipment at scale and with high yields in the Texas factory. So if we have this, assuming we solve the problem of dry coating and all the other intricacies that Tesla is applying to the 4680, we could see a situation where 4680 batteries together with processed lithium give Tesla not just a cost advantage, but also a domestic production advantage. And at the same time now, we could have an increase in cost from Chinese supplied batteries, components and battery cells. And if we combine this, we could have a perfect storm, and this is what we meant with the title of this episode, a perfect storm for Tesla, where we have constrained supply, a huge amount of supply coming from Tesla domestically at low cost, and at the same time also more demand for Tesla products because competitive products are more expensive. This could impact the Megapack business as much as the car business. So what we're expecting to happen in the next 6 to 12 months is massive demand for Tesla products, batteries on wheels and batteries in Megapacks, because the Tesla business is actually fully vertically integrated. And given the tariff situation and the trade war that we're in, this could be a massive, massive positive for Tesla. We just wanted this to mention because it's important also to think about these things. Supply chain is a key issue. Supply chain, the machine that builds the machine, implies not just the manufacturing side of things, but also the supply of things. If you want to use the analogy that Travis Kalachnik uses, where he says that atoms and digits are similar in a sense that atoms are being the compute, which is the compute version of digits, would be the manufacturing of atoms. The storage, the memory of digits would be the real estate of atoms, and the networking would be the transportation. So Tesla is in that same business. Tesla is in fact very similar to Travis Kalachnik when it comes to how they think about the business. They just don't formulate it like that. They are investing a lot in manufacturing, and supply chain is part of the manufacturing side. You can't manufacture things if you don't have access to the atoms and electrons that are necessary to manufacture what you want to do. And they're building the electrons and atoms here in the United States at low cost, and together in conjunction with the trade war, this could be a huge boost for the Tesla business. So where does this leave us, right? What is the conclusion here? I think I want to say a few things. When we invest in businesses, what we want to see is a lot of diversity in try and error. Like, wealth is created by continuously pushing the boundaries. The purpose of Orange Capital Partners is to invest in fundamentally new concepts and engineering practices with large impact. You can only do new concepts and new engineering practices, and you can only have large impact if you're willing to try. And that's what Tesla is doing. Sometimes it's expensive, and sometimes you might fail. Maybe Cybertruck could be a failure. Right now, it looks like a difficult demand situation for Cybertruck. So as an X could even be a failure. But at that time, when they did it, of course, it wasn't. Uh, and sometimes you can have huge wins like the Model Y, like the Megapack, and we believe that this refining business and the 4680 will turn out to be huge winners for Tesla. So what's important, and the purpose of this podcast is to give people a sense for what it feels like to run a hedge fund. If you're in the wealth creation business, you have to understand that wealth creation is all about a diversified portfolio of try and error without, of course, you want to be able to make mistakes. You want to be able to fail. You want to be able to fail fast and not too expensively. You also want to have enough patience. You want to give yourself enough time to let things actually evolve to the point where they have a chance to succeed. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Sometimes it can be early. It looks like right now Tesla is moving into the perfect positive storm of limited supply from China for key components of the supply chain for batteries that Tesla years ago has decided to provide. Thank you.